Hello everyone. Today I'm going to take some time to review the play A Raisin in the Sun, which debuted on Broadway and is now a novel as well, written by Lorraine Hansberry. This play presents the life of the Younger family throughout a few weeks as they are an African American family living in the time of racism and segregation. So first I want to introduce you to the characters of the story before we look into the plot of the story as well as who the characters are as people, right, what their personalities are like. So, the play revolves around Lena Younger, known as Mama. She has two children, her daughter Beneatha Younger and her son Walter Lee Younger. Walter Lee is married to Ruth Younger and they have a son named Travis Younger. So this is basically the Younger family. Then other minor characters in the story are George Murchison and Joseph Assagai, who are associated with Beneatha. They are two of her suitors. And then we have Bobo, who is Walter Younger's friend. And lastly, Carl Linder, who is another pretty significant character in the story, who is introduced towards the end. So the play starts off where the family is awaiting the arrival of a check of $10,000 following the death of Lena Younger's late husband. So this money is provided to the family because of an insurance policy of late Mr. Younger. So even before the money comes in, each of the characters have a different idea of what they want to do with the money, right? They all have different dreams, and they want to achieve a lot of things with the support of the check. Mama, she wants to buy a house. She's dreamt of that way before her husband even passed away, that she wants to buy a bigger home for her family. Walter, he plans on opening up a liquor store along with some of his friends, because he feels like it'll help with a lot of the family's financial troubles. Ruth, Walter's wife, doesn't really have any big plans of her own, but she does hope to give her son Travis a better life with more luxury than what they have now. And lastly, Beneatha, Walter's sister, wishes to use the money to pay off her medical school tuition so that she can continue studying to become a doctor, which is what she's doing right now. Alright, so the money comes in and the family has various discussions about what they're going to do with the money. To keep it short and simple, Mama does not support Walter's plans as much since she disagrees with him selling liquor. Instead, she's leaning more towards supporting Beneatha's ambitions, which regard her education in medical school. So, fast forward a little bit later into the plot, Mama puts a down payment on a home in Clybourne Park, which is a white neighborhood. That's a key piece of information to remember for later. So after Walter discovers this news, he's obviously very frustrated with it, and he goes downhill from there. He begins to get drunk every night, he doesn't really communicate with his family, and it's clear that he's very unhappy. Walter and Ruth begin to argue a lot on top of just learning that Ruth is pregnant again. So after noticing Walter's behaviors and unstable mental health, Mama decides to give Walter the remaining money because she still has some left. It's obviously not all of it though. So her only request is that she asks him to put in a portion of the money that she's giving to him for Beneatha, which will allow her to use that money for her medical school tuition, and basically tells him that the rest of the money he can use in the way that he wishes. Now, at this point in the play, the Youngers are all very satisfied, and they begin to prepare for the move. Then Linder shows up at their home, and Linder is from the Clybourne Park Improvement Association. And although he's a pleasant and polite man, the reason that he came to visit the Youngers becomes very clear. A conflict is created at this part of the story, and the rest of the story really does portray how the Youngers deal with this situation. However, I obviously won't spoil that for you. So by the end of the book, the play ends in a way that not only shows character improvement for every single one of them, but also teaches a lot of lessons. So with all that being said, let's dive a little bit deeper into each individual character to see what kind of personalities they have and what kind of people they really are. Okay, so we have Mama. She is in her early 60s and is the maternal figure of the family. She's very religious, conservative, and old-fashioned, and despite a lot of the hardships that she has gone through in the past, she's very optimistic, and she wants to see her family strive. She wants them out of their apartment in a home, hence why she buys the house. That's Mama. Then we have Walter. He is in his 30s, and he's a chauffeur, otherwise known as a driver, for a white wealthy man. So after working for this person, he obviously sees how he wants to be in the same financial level as these people. He sees the way that they're living, and he wants to lead his family in that way. He wants to be the man of the house, And although that is the case, he feels like he's caught up in a lot of financial problems, and he wants to invest money in a different way. He's known for making very quick decisions or acting without really thinking things through as well. Okay, so Ruth is in her 30s as well, and she's often very worn out throughout the play, as you will see. Her character is compared to the situation of their small apartment many times because the apartment is described as weary, and so is Ruth. She's a job cleaning for a white family and takes care of the cleaning, cooking, and maintaining of the younger household as well. And she expresses hopes to one day have a better living situation, obviously, although she does greatly respect Mama, who is her mother-in-law. Next is Travis, the 10-year-old son of Walter and Ruth. He is very clearly impacted by the financial situation of his house. He shows a lot of motivation to earn money himself after seeing what the older members of his family are dealing with, especially his father. In their small apartment, he has no space to himself, so he basically sleeps on the couch. He doesn't have a bedroom or a bed of his own either. Therefore, he clearly has to understand the concerns and issues within his family. Okay, Benita, she is 20 years old and hoping to eventually help a great deal of people through a career as a doctor. Her traits are actually very, very unique. She's different from others in that she is intelligent, which isn't extremely unique, but she treasures her racial roots, and nowadays, hopefully, people do treasure their racial roots, but back then, it was very hard in a time of racism and segregation to really love where you came from and stick to your identity, but that's what she does throughout the play, and it's really interesting to follow along with. So in the play, Benita has two admirers, Joseph Assegai and George Murchison, and they present her with two very different, opposing views on African American identity. So Joseph Assegai, he's a charming, polite, genuine, and very smart man who cherishes his identity. He's from Nigeria, and throughout the play, he shows Benita his love for African culture and tells her that she shouldn't try to fit in with white culture, and she should just pursue her true identity. On the other hand, George Murchison, he's good-looking, rich, and well-educated. However, he doesn't really agree with Benita's ideas, nor does he agree with the fact that she should be able to express herself in the way that she wants. He doesn't get along with some of her family either, and it's very clear that George kind of just wants Benita to be seen as good, great, smart, whatever, just for him, while Joseph truly wants what's best for Benita when it comes to her passions in life. As it's clear, every single character has their own background and traits which illustrate who they are as a person. I want to talk about some more things that I enjoyed about this book, as well as a few that I didn't really like. One thing that I absolutely love and moreover appreciate about this play is that it teaches so many life lessons throughout the entire plot. Readers are given insights into topics like goals and dreams, racism, financial troubles, and more. For me, in following along with each character, I found that there were sort of always things to learn, and from each and every one of them, it made it so easy to relate to every character in numerous ways. Another thing that I loved about this play is that there were so many hidden symbols throughout. Music, Mama's plant, sunlight, money, and Benita's hair were just a few of them, and they were very clear and well thought out symbols in Raisin in the Sun. The symbols allowed for readers to see the hidden meanings of daily objects or ideas, in my opinion, since once the symbol was noticed, it aligned tremendously with that part of the plot of the play. Now, if I had to mention something that I disliked about this play, I would probably say that I would have wished to hear more of Travis's thoughts, expressions, and feelings. Since this play was so centered around racial conflicts during this time period, and we got to see a lot of how gender roles, social status, families, and living situations, for instance, are impacted by racism, I would have loved to see more of how Travis was influenced by these topics as well. As far as my comprehension of the play, at least, I was able to understand that each and every one of the characters were impacted in some way, some worse than others, of course. So yes, Travis showed a great deal of his personality, and there were many heartwarming conversations between Travis and another character that helped to recognize him as an individual. However, I do wish that there was even more, because I would have loved to see how kids were impacted during this time period. All right, and that about wraps it up. So, with all that being said, this play definitely explores a wide spectrum of ideas. In my opinion, it's a very well written representation of life in the 1950s.